Before we begin today's announcement, I would like to welcome those that have joined me to this event. To my right, we have Glenn Blackwood, Vice President of Memorial University, responsible for the Fisheries and Marine Institute. Also from the Marine Institute, we have Tom Brown, the Administrative Director for the Center of Fisheries Ecosystems Research, and Dr. Jonathan Fisher, a research scientist with the Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research. To my left is Tom Dooley, Director of Sustainable Fisheries and Oceans Policy with the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. Ladies and gentlemen, our government is committed to supporting fisheries research projects that enhance information about the species in our waters. Gathering this vital information is important because having data on species migration patterns, their habitat, and their behavior all helps to inform us about stock status and therefore enables industry to plan for the future. Today, I am pleased to announce new funding that will support expanded fisheries science activity in our province. Ladies and gentlemen, the provincial government will provide more than $90,000 through our Fisheries Research Grant Program to help the Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research conduct new research activity on mackerel, cod, and halibut. The total investment will be divided into 3 projects. $30,000 will be used to support new mackerel research. The Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research will investigate whether the spawning grounds of the Northwest Atlantic mackerel stock have shifted north, outside of the traditional survey area in the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence. The possibility of substantial spawning off the northeast coast of Newfoundland has not been investigated previously. If new spawning areas are identified, this will provide valuable new data for the assessment of mackerel in Atlantic Canada. The other 2 projects supported by this funding are expansions of ongoing cod and Atlantic halibut tagging initiatives. $33,000 has been allocated to further develop the cod satellite tagging program. These satellite tags provide detailed information regarding the overwintering, spawning, and migration patterns of cod. I understand that the Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research, or CFER as it's known, is the first in the world to use satellite tags on cod. To date, over 100 cod have been tagged in areas around the province during CFER's offshore acoustic surveys in 2012, 2013, and 2014. To investigate cod stocks even further, CFER will use our additional funding to tag cod in the Yauk Channel and Hamilton Bank, as well as the Bonavista Corridor. The Yauk Channel and Hamilton Bank is located in Fishing Area 2J. This research project marks the first time satellite tags will be deployed on cod in this particular area, and so this project should provide important new information about the stock. I am pleased to note that since 2010, the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture has provided a total of $209,000 in funding to CFER to deploy satellite tags on cod in areas around the province. The remaining funding I am announcing today, which is approximately $30,000, will be used to enhance and expand the Atlantic halibut tagging program that was announced last fall. This additional funding will cover the cost of using new equipment to track the tags and will also allow CFER to target extremely large halibut that were unexpectedly detected in the offshore areas of 4R in the northern Gulf of St. Lawrence. The fieldwork on all these projects will commence in the spring and conclude in the fall of this year. Results are expected to be available in early 2016. I am pleased to note that since 2006, the provincial government has contributed more than $3.4 million through our Fisheries Research Program to support fisheries science projects. In addition, since 2010, the provincial government has committed $15.1 million to the Marine Institute's Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research to support research into the health of various species, climate change impacts, and fishery sustainability. It is a point of pride that the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador remains the only provincial government in Canada that independently funds its own Fisheries Research Science Centre, and that centre is among the best in the world. Certainly, our partners at the Marine Institute are doing tremendous work, and so at this time I would like to thank the Marine Institute and the Center for Fisheries Ecosystems Research for all they have achieved and continue to do. I will now call on Glenn Blackwood, Vice President of Memorial Universities responsible for Marine Institute, and the members of his team to say a few words. I understand they have a video to show us that provides an update on what we have learned from the halibut tagging work to date, and Dr. Fisher will speak to that as well. Glenn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Minister Granter. I would like to say on behalf of our research scientists, technologists, the biologists, and graduate students of CFR, I would like to say thank you to the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture.
You're welcome.
The Department's funding back in 2010, as the Minister mentioned, allowed us to create the Centre, and it has done incredible work. I'll detail some of that and talk about these projects in a few minutes. And I'm absolutely delighted to have a lot of the grad students and employees of CFR here with us today. So welcome to you as well. The government has made it a priority to build our fisheries research capacity within the province and to support the sustainable development of our valuable fish resources. Many of our communities rely upon the fishery, and I've said many times over the years that in terms of mega projects, the fishery remains the only mega project that I know of that will spread its, like peanut butter, spread itself from Cape Chidley all the way around the province into every nook and cranny, and largely to the future of rural Newfoundland especially. That support that we've had to create CFR has given us unprecedented insight into the trends involving the fish resources off the coast of the province and our marine environment in general. The province's support is continued advancement of the Fisheries and Marine Institute in a global ocean sector that has enabled this centre, that we call CFR, to become the largest university-based at-sea fisheries research unit in Canada. Today, we are broadening our research capacity by undertaking new research into Atlantic mackerel stocks and by expanding our innovative satellite tagging, as Minister Granter mentioned, into North Atlantic cod, northern cod as we know it, but hopefully into the northern reaches of northern cod. We've been finding significant concentrations and tagging lots of fish in the 3L Funk Island Bank area. This year we'll focus the entire survey in that region and hopefully get, if ice conditions permit, get into Hamilton Bank and into the 2J region, where we still know very little about what's happening. The other part of this is Atlantic halibut stocks in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and some groundbreaking work that Dr. Fisher will talk about in a little while. This work is absolutely fascinating, and using the technology that we've adapted and used to track cod and to track halibut. When I was a biologist 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years ago, this was unheard of. And the ability to track an individual fish and see where it goes, learn about its life history, migration patterns, is absolutely incredible. So coming back to those projects, the Atlantic mackerel stock, very important to this province, and very important to communities on the west and northeast coast. However, the survey biomass for that stock in the Gulf, where it's normally surveyed, the larval and juvenile surveys that take place, has indicated a major decline. At the same time, we're seeing reports from fishermen and my own personal surveys in the middle of August, a lot of small mackerel, and I mean small mackerel, 4 and 5 inches long, that we've never seen before in White Bay and Notre Dame Bay. So the opportunity, the possibility that egg and larval stages and spawning is occurring in White Bay and Notre Dame Bay is a very real possibility, and will change the perception in terms of the stock assessment of where those mackerel are actually reproducing. So the mackerel research will be implemented by CFR, our research scientists, in conjunction with the FFAW and with the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. And that partnership is probably the best partnership we've had. This is the way we've set CFR up, that it works very closely with industry and government to better understand the fish stocks dynamics through fisheries research. And the survey should, as I said, could lead to detecting new spawning grounds for mackerel off the northeast coast. I would like to say that since 2012, CFR has used the RV Celtic Explorer out of Ireland to conduct extensive offshore acoustic surveys off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. These surveys are changing our view of what's happening in the ocean off our coast. Our view of key species are being documented, some of these changes, and we believe that the ecosystem is shifting back to groundfish. That corresponds with other shifts that we see in the industry, particularly with respect to crab and shrimp, and we're seeing recoveries of cod and tagging and studying that cod as well. In addition, during these surveys, as was mentioned, seafarers successfully developed a method to satellite tag cod and to track their movements from the offshore area to the inshore area. They actually know them on a first-name basis, and there's some great pictures on our website of people cuddling into codfish 3 and 4 feet long, if you're so inclined. These satellite tags measure and record latitude and longitude, depth, temperature data, and do that for about a year. They then release themselves from the fish, float to the surface, and transmit their data via satellite back to the researchers at the Marine Institute. The success of this experiment so far is helping unravel some of the distribution and migration mysteries about Atlantic cod, and it's also confirming some of our past beliefs regarding the Bonavista Vista corridor and fish coming inshore, cold water layers of the Labrador current and stuff like that. So this is groundbreaking work. As the minister said, it's never been done anywhere else in the world. Absolutely delighted that we're doing it, but also delighted with the results that are coming from it. So we will expand that into northern areas of northern cod this year. And also in October of 2013, we partnered with the Fisheries Food and Allied Workers Union to use satellite tags to collect baseline biological data on Atlantic halibut in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And these are very large fish, and the results that Jonathan will share with you in a few minutes describe the seasonal migration and habitat use within the Gulf. This, again, is a very important stock to fishermen on the west coast of Newfoundland, and is a stock that, because of quota restrictions and I guess an understanding of the stock, usually the fishery is open for a day or two. So it's very difficult to collect fisheries information on this. So the collection of biological information that Jonathan will take us through, I think, is groundbreaking work. So like the mackerel research, we're doing this in a collaborative model with lots of partners. We look forward to expanding our halibut tagging, and the additional funding support for these tags, which are quite unique, is greatly appreciated. So today's investment and the past investment has allowed us to gather knowledge, build capacity, and build expertise. The grad students that we produce will be the fisheries scientists and the fisheries researchers of tomorrow. And that's a critical part of this industry going forward. I've said in the past, and I'll say again, that this is Newfoundland's mega project that we really need to focus on, especially for rural Newfoundland. For 500 years, we've harvested fish from the sea, mainly cod. In more recent years, crab and shrimp. That ecosystem, and the reason we didn't call it the Center for Cod Research or Halibut Research, it's the Center for Fisheries Ecosystem Research. That ecosystem produces phytoplankton, zooplankton. It goes into capelin, it goes into mackerel and herring, it goes into cod, it goes into crab and shrimp. And for the next 500 years, we will be harvesting that ecosystem the same way that people in Alberta switch from crops of the 30s to crops of today. So I really believe there's an enormous opportunity here to move the province forward, and the fisheries department that you, sir, are responsible for, we still have a major fishery in Newfoundland and Labrador 23 years after we closed what was our iconic cod fishery. So I believe that CFR's activities and our partners are critical to creating that long-term sustainability. And I thank you again, Minister Granter, for your department's support, faith, and cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll now call upon Jonathan Fisher, Dr. Jonathan Fisher, to brief you on the findings of the halibut tagging project. And this is much more fun than listening to me talk.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. I, too, would like to thank the provincial government's Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture for supporting research on the Gulf of St. Lawrence Atlantic halibut stock. I also relay thanks from my colleague, Dr. Dominique Robert, who today is participating in the Gulf cod stock assessment in Montjoli, Quebec. Our halibut research is notable for the results that it continues to generate, and also for the strong and growing network of scientists, fish harvesters, industry representatives, and managers working towards this common goal. And many of them are shown on that screen there. That goal is better understanding the movements, habitat use, and population dynamics of this valuable stock, and to have new research results feed directly into stock assessments. While providing answers specific to the Gulf stock, this network has also attracted international collaborators from the Gulf of Maine Research Institute and the International Pacific Halibut Commission, because the research approaches that we are using are applicable to other systems, and because recent technological and modeling advances tested elsewhere are now being applied here. The application of new technology to get the most information out of each tagged halibut is the basis of the halibut research funding announced today. In mid-2014, we learned of a new direction-finding antenna that can detect satellite tags floating on the surface after they have released from each fish. Last October, we led the first pilot study to test this device in the Gulf. We would have been happy to recover a single tag. However, with expert help from fish harvesters, the FFAW, and a couple of keen graduate students, we recovered all 5 tags that were detected. The photo behind me shows one of these successes at sea with the device and with the recovered tag. What this tag recovery means for analyses of halibut movements is the availability of temperature and depth data at a resolution of every 2 minutes over a full year. And that's a continuous time series that simply cannot be transmitted via satellite. So on to the next slide, please. On this slide, I will soon show an animation of what this high-resolution information from recovered tags can yield and the types of analyses that we plan to expand under the current funding. The bottom panels show the full time series of depth in blue and temperature in red for the one large adult halibut that was tagged and released off Port au Choix in October 2013 and recovered by a fish harvester in July 2014 near Bird Cove. The top panel will show the results of a halibut movement model from this fish based on temperature and depth recorded as the fish moved and oceanographic data from 2013 and 2014. This model was developed in collaboration with Dr. Arnaud Labrie, who is a recent graduate of Memorial University. The model depicts daily movements as a region in which the fish was most likely present. And I'll now start the animation. What you can immediately see is this halibut's use of the side of the deep Esquimalt Channel as it moves south and its presence below 200 meters by December. What is quite apparent if this is stopped in mid-February is the appearance of these rapid changes in depth of about 50 meters where the fish quickly rises up into the water column, shown in that blue plot in the second panel. These excursions can be as short as 6 minutes, are spaced evenly apart by 3 to 4 days. In closely related species, including Pacific halibut, these have been identified as spawning rises, where the fish leaves the bottom to reproduce in the water column. This also fits with the known timing of halibut reproduction in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. What is truly novel about this result, though, is that for the first time, we know the locations of halibut spawning. This new knowledge directly addresses a source of uncertainty noted in the 2013 stock assessment of halibut, that being uncertainty in the spawning areas. What is just as interesting as this result shown on the screen, however, is that there are at least 3 different types of seasonal movements, with some fish being resident, some fish spawning in the mid-channel, and some fish spawning in the deep channel further to the south. And if I start the animation again, we can again see the use of the Esquimalt Channel before the fish heads inshore and through some temperature changes in July and June of up to 10 degrees per day before being captured in the fishery. Minister Granter, these results are already having an impact. Just 2 days ago, we presented model results from this recovered tag and the 5 other tags from large adult fish at the Gulf Halibut Assessment. Our results were well received. Therefore, our future recovery of tags placed last fall on juvenile fish that make up the bulk of the fishery should yield equally new insights into their movements within the stock area. With that, Minister Granter, I again thank the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture for supporting this research. I turn the floor to you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Dr. Fisher. And I just want to say thank you for the work that you guys continue to do at the Centre. It's absolutely fabulous. I will conclude by thanking everyone for joining us here today. Fisheries research remains a priority for our government. Our continued partnership in science projects involving the Marine Institute and the seafood industry will help ensure our billion-dollar seafood industry remains strong into the future.